Hey adventurers, welcome back to Holistic Homebrew. Primal magic isn't just about trees and flowers. It's about ripping enemies to shreds with claws, igniting foes, and deflecting attacks with shields of glass. Today we're counting down my top 5 primal cantrips that unleash nature's true power in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Let's dive in. Starting with number 5, we have Glass Shield. Facing off against a powerful creature, you cast Glass Shield just in time. The shield takes the hit and explodes, peppering your opponent with glass shards. It's a satisfying bit of payback in the middle of a tough fight. This is a single action cantrip with a duration until the start of your next turn. You summon a layer of clear glass to keep you from harm. This counts as using the Raise Shield action, giving you a +1 circumstance bonus to AC until the start of your next turn, and it doesn't require a hand to use. You can shield block with this spell, and it has a hardness of 2. Using the spell's reaction to reduce damage from any spell or magical effect, even if it doesn't deal physical damage. When you shield block, the shield explodes in a shower of glass. If the creature that broke it is within 5 feet, the shards deal 1d4 piercing damage with a basic reflex save. After you use shield block, the spell ends and you can't cast it again for 10 minutes. This cantrip can be heightened at 3rd level, making the hardness 4 and increasing the damage to 3d4. At 5th level, the hardness becomes 7, increasing the damage to 4d4. At 7th level, the hardness becomes 10, increasing the damage to 5d4. And lastly, at 9th level, the hardness becomes 12, increasing the damage to 6d4. This cantrip is amazing because it can absorb damage, it can deal damage, and it's extremely cost effective. It's a single action and 1 reaction. It can also be used to help control a space. Moving on to number 4, we have Guidance. As your rogue is about to pick a lock under pressure, you quietly cast Guidance. It's that extra bit of support that makes the difference, allowing your party to slip through undetected. This is a single action cantrip with a range of 30 feet that targets 1 creature, with a duration until the start of your next turn. This cantrip grants a +1 status bonus to 1 attack roll, saving throw, perception check, or skill check before the duration ends. The target gets to choose which roll the bonus is added to before rolling. If the target uses the bonus, the spell ends. Either way, they are temporarily immune for 1 hour. This cantrip is extremely useful because it can help you succeed an important saving throw, it can enhance a stealth mission, or even better, it can help you get a critical hit on an attack. Moving on to number 3, we have Electric Arc. Are you low on spell slots and facing a mob of weaker enemies? With Electric Arc, you channel just enough power to keep multiple foes at bay with efficiency and precision to control the battlefield. This is a 2-action cantrip with a range of 30 feet that targets 1 or 2 creatures. An arc of lightning leaps from one target to another. Each target takes 2d4 electricity damage with a basic reflex save. This cantrip can be heightened +1 to increase the damage by 1d4. This cantrip is perfect because of its action economy. It's 1 cantrip that targets 2 enemies, and it can be used against a target behind partial cover. It's also useful because it deals electricity damage, and from what I've seen in Pathfinder, most creatures aren't resistant to electricity damage. But the best part about this cantrip is they're going to take damage unless they critically succeed on their saving throw, unlike a spell attack roll. Moving on to number 2, we have Ignition. You're outnumbered and time is running out. With a snap, Ignition sets the lead enemy ablaze. Suddenly they're a hazard to their own allies as the fire spreads. Now your single spell is controlling the entire battlefield. This is a 2-action cantrip with a range of 30 feet that targets 1 creature. You make a ranged spell attack roll against the target's AC, dealing 2d4 fire damage on a hit. If the target is within melee reach, you can make a melee spell attack roll with the flame instead, which increases all the spell's damage dice to d6s instead. If you succeed on the hit, the target takes full damage. But if you critically succeed, the target takes double damage and 1d4 persistent fire damage. This cantrip can be heightened +1 to increase the initial damage by 1d4, and on a critical success, the persistent fire damage is increased by 1d4 as well. I love this cantrip because it has versatility on the damage. If you go for melee, you deal d6s, and if you go ranged, you deal d4s. And you can prevent your opponent from using more actions because they have to put the fire out. However, I do want to know everyone's opinion on this spell because it states that all the spell's damage gets increased by d6. So if you critically succeed, does that mean the persistent fire damage becomes a d6 as well? I think it should, but if you think otherwise, put it in the comments down below. I'd love to talk about it. And lastly, moving on to number 1, we have Gouging Claw. Your fighter's down and you're the last line of defense. With no time to think, you cast Gouging Claw to tear into the nearest enemy. The look of surprise on their face as a spellcaster lands a critical hit up close, priceless. This is a 2-action cantrip with a range of touch that targets 1 creature. You morph your limb into a claw and you make a melee spell attack roll against the target's AC. If you hit, you get to deal your choice of 2d6 slashing damage or 2d6 piercing damage plus 2 persistent bleed damage. On a critical success, you deal double damage and double bleed damage. This cantrip can be heightened plus 1 to increase the damage by 1d6 and the persistent bleed damage by 1. I absolutely love this cantrip because of its versatility and damage. You can choose to do slashing or piercing, plus it does bleed damage. And because of that, this cantrip can be used to combo off with many other spells, such as Horrifying Blood Loss. Alright adventurers, let's wrap up our look at my top 5 primal cantrips in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. From the clawing ferocity of Gouging Claw to the blazing chaos of Ignition, these cantrips are not just powerful, they're a blast to use in-game. Each one offers a unique tactical advantage that can turn the tide of battle and add some serious flair to your spellcasting. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. Which cantrip do you guys think is the most fun or effective? Do y'all have any favorite moments using these cantrips in your campaign? Drop your comments down below, and if there's a cantrip you felt should have made the list, let's chat about them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Pathfinder 2e content. We have plenty of exciting topics coming up, including more spell breakdowns, homebrew items, and tips to make your games more thrilling. Stay tuned for our next video. We'll be exploring my top 5 common cantrips to pick in Pathfinder 2e. Whether you're a seasoned player or new to the game, these cantrips are essential for maximizing your character's versatility and effectiveness in any campaign. Trust me, you don't want to miss out. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you feel inspired to try these cantrips out in your next game, but until then, keep on rolling.